continues concerning Chelsea midfielder Mason Mount. His contract has just under a year and a half left to go, and I think contract talks with Chelsea have kind of reached a bit of a stalemate, and Liverpool continue to be linked. And there's rumours, circulating recently of a £50 million move, perhaps, from Mount this summer. Where do you sit on Mason Mount in general as a player? And do you think he'll leave Chelsea? And if he does leave Chelsea, do you think Liverpool would be a good fit for him? Or where do you think he would rank in terms of, perhaps midfielders on Liverpool's shortlist? Obviously, we all know Jude Bellingham's number one transfer target, but where do you think Mason Mount sits? And do you think he would be just a good fit in general for Liverpool?
Well, I think he's probably the second target right now. It seems like it, certainly, just in terms of how often his name keeps propping up when it comes to Liverpool. In terms of is it realistic? Is he going to leave Chelsea? I mean, there's been few reports about, how Chelsea need to sell a significant amount of players in the summer for a significant fees as well. And obviously, Mount going to be in the last year of his contract does represent someone who can be discarded. And I think, obviously, because he's homegrown, still relatively young, Chelsea, even though he's only going to have a year left in his contract, Chelsea can still hope to get quite a large chunk for him. I think there's talks of around £50 million, which where I stand on Mount is if you can get him for £50 million, that's a good deal. I think he's played well in Champions League finals, been a regular England international. I know he's having a bit of a dip this season, but I do think in general he's quite good. He can be a creative force, a goal scoring force, and I think he kind of ticks a lot of boxes of what's missing for Liverpool. Liverpool haven't really had a proper goal scoring midfielder since Felipe Coutinho, maybe, if you want to call him a midfielder, because he played a lot on the wing. But if we're really going back, Steven Gerrard was probably the last midfielder who scored a lot of goals for Liverpool. And I think Mount could potentially bring that element back, that sort of new dimension for Liverpool into the midfield. And Klopp is always talking about needing an evolution, and that would certainly give Liverpool a bit of an evolution. And at the same time, though, I think something that kind of goes unnoticed when it comes to Mount is his defensive ability. His defensive stats are actually really good. He wins a high percentage of his defensive duels, gets a lot of interceptions. So he also kind of fits into how Klopp likes to play, and I think he would be good at pressing and sort of winning the ball at the front of the pitch as well.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there in terms of Liverpool not having, many goal-scoring midfielders over the years. Like, I can't remember the last Liverpool midfielder that hit double digits for goals, in a single season. As you say, you probably are going back to the Steven Gerrard era when Gerrard was in his peak. So you couldn't say Coutinho, but as you said, he was kind of more of a winger on the left. So yeah, and I think from my perspective, it depends how much Liverpool go all in for Bellingham and how much he costs, because you do imagine that he will take up a lot of the transfer budget this summer. And it's, would the club really have 50 million left over to buy Mount? And would Chelsea really want to sell to one of their rivals? But as you say, considering that Chelsea have bought every footballer that's breathing, it seems, over the last two transfer windows, they need money. So if Liverpool is ready to pay 50 million for Mount, they have no choice but to take it.
Yeah, and I think as well, like in the last few seasons, we've seen Chelsea do business with Arsenal a lot of the times, which would have been unheard of before. But even in January, we saw Jorginho go into Arsenal from Chelsea. So they are just in a desperate situation right now. And when you're in such a desperate situation, I think it opens up the possibility for unlikely scenarios. And I think right now would be a good opportunity for Liverpool to pound some Mount. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much Liverpool, if Liverpool do even end up buying Jude Bellingham, it is going to be interesting to see how much they can get him in for. But from what we know from reports we've seen, Liverpool, by all accounts, Liverpool are going to have a significant budget for the summer, the likes of which Liverpool haven't had since probably ever under FSG anyway. So I think it 50 million in the grand scheme of things, when we're looking at the transfer market right now, we're looking at Madrid, going for crazy money to Chelsea and a lot of other players. I think 50 million for a Champions League winning midfielder who's a regular England international is not a bad price at all. It's a bit of a bargain, you'd have to say, even though it sounds crazy because a few years ago 50 million was a lot of money, but in this day and age I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, the market is so inflated now, and Chelsea helped inflate that market too, I suppose, over the last couple of transfer windows. That, as you rightly said, 50 million really isn't, I say, a lot in football terms. In the football bubble, it's not really a lot for a Champions League, winning midfielder, as you said, England international. But moving on slightly to actual factual matters, we've got Liverpool playing Bournemouth on Saturday. And Luis Diaz seems nearer to a return. There were reports that he could be starting against Bournemouth, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Naby Keita is back in contention. Do you think that after Diaz was kind of not rushed back, but he kind of suffered a relapse just before Christmas, do you think that Klopp is going to take his time with him and Diaz and slowly reintroduce him into the team? Or do you think we'll see him back as soon as he's fit, or do you think it'd be more of a case of just easing him in 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, kind of gently build him back up again?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now Liverpool's situation is completely different to when they kind of rushed Diaz back. Now you have Nunez who can play on the left, Gakpo has settled in well, so Liverpool almost have the luxury of sort of easing him back into it, and I think it's, even though there were reports that he could potentially feature against Bournemouth, I think it's the right decision to just kind of take a step back and take it easy and really take the time for him to recover and be 100% when he comes back, because as much as he's going to be a significant boost, fortunately for Liverpool, as evidenced by that 7-0 against Man United, there's not that much of a need of another attacker. You have Jota now back as well. He can play on the left. Firmino can slot into the middle. So there's plenty of options, and I think because of that, Liverpool can afford to take their time a little bit and sort of ease him back into it and not take any risks, because they have the luxury to do so, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because Diaz is such an important player for Liverpool, and Liverpool they just look more dynamic when Diaz is in the side. I think you can't rush him back again. I think take your time, as you say. There's no real urgency for Diaz now, after the recent run of results. So I think, it's Klopp should just slowly reintroduce him into the team, take it easy, and then just try and get him back to full fitness ahead of next season. You would say at this point, considering we're in early March, or perhaps even by the beginning of May, get him back to full fitness and just make sure he doesn't suffer another relapse. We could see Naby Keita back for Bournemouth. Do you think that we will see Naby Keita from the start, or do you think it'd be just a cameo, which is kind of what we see from Naby Keita these days? Do you think he'll start, or do you think it's just he'll come off the bench?
I think he'll come off the bench. Yeah. I know it's been a short little knock, but I really expect Liverpool to make a few changes against Bournemouth. I think right now you need the momentum heading into Real Madrid. You've got the momentum already with the United victory, so now Liverpool just need to maintain that and continue. And for that reason, I think there's not going to be few changes against Bournemouth. Maybe Tsimikas might come in for Robertson, potentially Bajcetic could play instead of Henderson. But other than that, I don't see Klopp making a lot of changes. I think it's going to be very much the same starting 11, and Liverpool are going to be looking to get another big result to carry that on to Real Madrid and try and do the impossible. I think Real Madrid. I was looking it up yesterday. Real Madrid have only ever lost by 3 goals in the Champions League once, and it was at home in the Bernabeu, I should say. They only ever lost once by 3 goals to CSKA Moscow back in 2018 in a group stage game where Real Madrid's fate had already been settled, so there was no really stake for them in that one. But obviously this time around it's very different. Liverpool haven't beaten Real Madrid in their last 7 games. Again, that just shows you the impossibility of the task. They've only ever won at the Bernabeu once. That was by a 1-goal scoreline. Benayoun got a header in 2009. So it's going to be very much an extreme, an impossible, unprecedented task for Liverpool to complete. But we've seen the impossible under Jurgen Klopp so many times, so I'm sure they'll give it their best shot, and who knows, maybe they will surprise us and pull off what would probably be the most remarkable result for Liverpool since Istanbul. I think if I should dare say.
Well, let's hope you're right, Ben. Let's hope you're right. That'll do us for today. Be sure to check out all the content on Blood Red, and of course all the written content on Liverpool.com, and we'll see you again soon.